Sefiras HaOmer. Let's get serious, okay?
Yes.
Building the Malchus, that's what we spoke about. And he says the following thing. He says that, so it begins on Pesach, right? Because we start counting the Omer on the second day of Pesach, as this week's Parsha says, Parsha's Emor, right? And so the Omer offering was brought the first day, and that was matir, the wheat, chadash, right? The crop grew. The second day of Pesach, we brought the Hakravas Omer, brought the Omer offering after the base of Mikdash, was barley. And once that was brought, so now it was matir the wheat crop at that time, and you can now eat it freely, basically, from that point. And this period of time, of course, ended on Chag HaShavuos because there's 7 complete weeks, 7 times 7, 49 days, and the 50th day is Shavuos itself, right? And then you brought Shtei Lechem for the offering, and that was the first wheat offering, as Rashi points out in this week's Parsha, because the first Omer brought was barley, but this is the first Omer of wheat that's baked into breads that was brought from this crop on Shavuos, 2 loaves of bread, as known from the Arizal. Hinei mitaknim Yisrael aydezeh b'olam hazeh liyot kodesh l'Hashem below arvuvia the sitra acher klal kidus kalel. Right, that this specific mitzvah of bringing up the Omer offering and counting after that, he says this simultaneously not only rectified the world, it rectified the Jewish people. It's fixing the malchus. It's somehow rectifying the malchus, somehow making the world more kaddish, more hospitable to the Shekhinah, so Kosh Baruch Hu can become king over the entire land, as we say in Zechariah at the end of Elenu. Right? Zechariah said that. We repeat the words. He says, why? Because Kitikun Malchus v'Yisrael Chadu. Because when you rectify the Malchus, you rectify the kingdom of Hashem in this world, you simultaneously rectify the Jewish people. It's all one and the same thing. Okay? Ki heim binyana veheim ivarei dila. Because the Jewish people are conceptually, spiritually, the actual structure of the Malchus. The Avos were the Merkava for the Shekhinah. That's what it says. They were the chariot. The Shekhinah rode around on the Avos. Why? Because everywhere when they spoke about Hashem, they did the mitzvahs, they Mekadosh Shem Shemayim, and when you do Kiddush Hashem, when you act as if you believe in God and follow His ways, so then, in a sense, you're building a place for Hashem in this world. So the Jewish people who are supposed to do that by living by the Torah mitzvahs, we become the structure of Hashem's kingdom in this world, and its limbs. We are the limbs of this malchus. That's what he says. Ki mispashetes b'kol echad v'echad misrael, because the malchus of Hashem emanates through all the Jewish people. Every Jew. Anyway, in Parshas Truma, right before the chet of the Eglah Zahav, we were supposed to be the Mishkan. The Mishkan was supposed to be every single Jew. The binyan of the Mishkan was a result, according to many, of the Eglah Zahav. We lost the right to be the structure, the Mishkan of Hashem. Our hearts were supposed to be the Mizbeach, the altar. This is not metaphorical. This is actual reality in the end. So the same thing is true about the Beis Hamikdash, the Jewish people. I mean, the Beis Hamikdash had to be built anyhow, but the Jewish people can act as a miniature Mishkan, a miniature Beis Hamikdash. That's what we're trying to become at all times, through our learning of Torah and doing mitzvahs. V'kol tikkunei Yisrael ma'asehem hu b'akol ba. And every time the Jewish people rectify themselves, they rectify the Malchus at the same time. Okay? Ki heim hispashtus ruch delay, because they are, right, it's emanation of its ruach, of its life force in this world. Kemosh gosav agra kol zeh b'tikkunim. Okay, the Gra also writes about this as well. Brings the source down. He says, "V'harei na'aseh hakravas HaOmer letikun hashchina of Yisrael b'olam hazeh b'kol shana v'shana." So therefore, the actual bringing up of the Omer offering every single year was an ongoing process of tikkun for both the Jewish people and the Shechina in this world. Ongoing, every year. Adding, a cumulative, hopefully that's the idea. Ach, however, ikaro, the main part of this tikkun, he nehu rak letikun hasid leis ketzi yamim. The main tikkun of the Malchus and the Jewish people will take place in the future, the time of the end of days, which will be about 246 or something like that. Okay, that's supposed to happen very soon. We're living at end times. That's a class unto itself, which we spoke about earlier, right? And he says that's when it takes place. Because the geula, listen very carefully, it's very important, is a life-altering sentence. The geula begins on Pesach, Yushlam b'chag HaShavuos, and ends on Shavuos. The geula is supposed to be a process that begins on one Pesach and ends on the following Shavuos. In other words, the 49 days of the HaOmer are supposed to lead to the geula. It did back at the beginning because receiving Torah was the ultimate expression of geula, Kabbalah Torah, back at the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And the final redemption is going to end up being on Shavuos. So everybody, yeah, well, that's the time of Kabbalah Torah, the light comes down, but it's also the time of the geula Shlema. So this is unknown. Most people think that the geula begins on Pesach and ends on Pesach. So it didn't come this Pesach. Oh, it's over. The time is over. The opportunity has come and gone. And then Shavuos comes along. Yeah, you stay up all night, learn Torah. Have a lot of cheesecake, get sick. Have fleishiks later on. Maybe yes, maybe no. It's like 1 day, 2 days in Chutzlar. This year actually is 2 days for us too because Shabbos comes first. Not really Shavuos, but 2 day Yantav in a sense. But it's to commemorate Kabbalah Torah from 3,300 and whatever years ago, a long time ago. What about Gula? Conceptually, Zman Torah Sen. Zman Cheres Sen was back in Pesach time. It begins on Pesach time. It ends on Shavuos. That's what's supposed to happen. Which is why, what do we read on Shavuos day? Megillas Rus. Why? The ordinate of the Melech. Mashiach. We read, David HaMelech died on Shavuos. Right? He died on Shavuos. Because that's the day he should have come as Mashiach. We weren't Zocher back then, so he died instead. Mashiachs have come and gone. If we're Zocher, they come to actualization, to fruition, and become Mashiach. If they don't, they die. They come and they go. All through history, there's always a Mashiach and Yosef, and Mashiach and David, and every generation says the Gra. So Shavuos is the time of Geula. And I mean, it says anyhow, al tikrei charus elecherus, right? Don't read that they're engraved, the luchas, but freedom is engraved on the luchas. Okay, it conceptually makes a lot of sense, but no, this is the time, this is the portal. Shavuos is a tremendous portal to the final redemption that begins on Pesach time, develops during Sefiras HaOmer, and then is completed on Shavuos. And it really, in a real sense, it's all one Chag. Pesach and Shavuos are the first and last days of Yantiv, and the Sefiras HaOmer is like Chol HaMoed, in between. Mm-hmm. So it's all connected. And then Lag BaOmer, of course, is but we'll get to that as Rosh Hashanah Lag BaOmer, because Lag BaOmer comes after the 33rd day of the Omer, on the 33rd day of the Omer, so there's 32 days in advance, which is the Gematria of Leiv, and then there's 17 days after the Lag BaOmer, which is the Gematria of the word Tov. And if you look in Pirkei Avos, it asks the question, what is the midah a person should have, the most important midah, and they paskin a leiv tov, and that's why the luchas are often held in the shape of a heart, because a leiv tov is the essence of being able to serve a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and it's the result of being an Adam Shalom, the full tikkun of a person. So the entire period of time between Pesach and Shavuos to get to Cherus is to develop a leiv tov. That's what we're building. That's what the Yomer is for, which is why, by the way, Rabbi Akiva's students die, dafka, at this time period. Because since it's a time of leiv tov, whenever you're in a time where you're supposed to excel at something and you do the opposite, it's way worse. Klal Gadol B'Torah. Rabbi Akiva Omer, V'ahavta l'reyacha kamocha. And he was their Rebbe. So you have a Rebbe who teaches it in a period of time that makes it possible to excel at it, and you're not going to have the proper respect for one another. It amplifies the avera, and therefore they died at this period of time because you're developing leiv tov. Now, what's really important in all this? What separates the first 32 days from the last 17 days that transforms the leiv into a leiv tov? And what does Lag BaOmer celebrate? The receiving of the Zohar. Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the essence for being able to have a true Lev Tov. Yep. So the question is, Kabbalah is usually something that's only for people who've learned all of Torah, and you worked in your midos, and you're, according to some, 40 years old, and a family. Now, Kabbalah is not for everybody. So does that mean that a Lev Tov is off limits to so many different people who cannot learn Kabbalah? It's an important question, which we'll address B'ezras Hashem later on. But the main point over here is he says that Pesach is the beginning of the Gula, and Shavuos is the end of the Gula. V'az Yiskala Shechina b'Yisrael b'Gilu Gamur, because that's by Shavuos time. That's when the Kodesh Baruch, or Lasi Lavo, the final redemption. That's when the Shechina will reveal itself fully, or more fully, to the Jewish people. As it says in Yeshaya, V'lo yikanef od marecha v'hayu einecha roz es marecha v'hinei Shechina. The pasuk says that no longer will Hashem be hidden from us. You'll see your master, you would see, more clearly, right? V'hinei Shechina Kedosha. He nikras emunas Yisrael, and the Shechina itself is called the emunah of the Jewish people. Ki rak Yisrael maminim she'Hashem melech olam ve'ed, because only the Jewish people really believe that Hashem is the king over the entire world forever. And the only ones who really the emunah, at least those who have the emunah, right, that He has done everything, He does everything, and will do everything. One of the 13 fundamentals of belief. Gam kol masha naseh aydei sibos v'shluchim hinehu yisbarach shema neshama l'mashama. And even those things that seem to happen through other people, shlichim, malachim, whatever, it's all Hashem. He's doing it always, right? He's the soul of the soul. Rucha lerucha hamisavev as a kol v'hu bifnim l'kol. He's behind it all. Everything is hashgacha pratis. No matter what a person sees, does, or witnesses, it doesn't make a difference. Nothing happens if a Kodesh Baruch Hu is not making it happen, allowing it to happen. We may have to ask the question why and understand why, but He is the essence of it, even though it looks like just the opposite. That's Emunas Yisrael.